Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I've got 5 replays in 5 different tanks. So just like the videos that have been coming out the past 2 days, this is another video where we're going to show off 5 different replays from 5 different tanks of 5 games that were very, very good, and we just want to get out there before they become obsolete with the current equipment changes that are happening tomorrow. So we're going to play the M10 RBFM, the Demon, the Kame, the T41E1, which is the 10-shot autoloading bulldog, and the ISU-130, and there's going to be a bit of a theme to this video, and that is that the first 3 replays are bottom tier tanks does well, right? That's the theme of these first 3 replays. We're going to be bottom tier, and we're going to have some pretty stonking games in those vehicles while bottom tier. And then the last 2 replays will be, whoops, I don't have a commander or just have no skills. So you get to see the tank in action without any of the commander bonuses that you get generally anyway. Equipment, yes, but no commander bonuses. So we're starting off here with the M10 RBFM. So if you do like the video, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, as it really does help out the channel. And yes, the French Tier 5 Regiment Reward tank. It's the M10 RBFM. It's got silver earn rate, so this is Regiment Reward Premium tank, right? You had to spend 30,000 Regi coins to get this vehicle from the store. And yes, this is the little PSA. The reason I've also put this tank first is that spend your regiment coins. Today is the last day you're going to be able to spend the regiment coins you've built up over this season. If you do not spend them today, they're going to run out, expire, and you're not going to get any of the goodies from the regiment store. So make sure that you spend your regiment coins. So now that PSA is out of the way, the M10 RBFM, it's a pretty solid little Tier 5 tank destroyer. You've got, if you've got the M10 Wolverine in the American Tier 5 tech tree, if you want to know what this vehicle's like, and you don't want to spend the coins on it, and you want to get all the pretty little camos instead, which there's quite a few good camos, to be fair, yeah, go and play the M10 Wolverine in the American Tier 5 tech tree, and you'll get exactly the same experience, but without having to spend the hard ground out Regi coins. But saying that, it is a very good Tier 5 tank destroyer. The one thing that it lacks is a bit of penetration, to be honest, and that can make it a bit of a struggle. But as you'll see here, you can still have a good time with it. It's a bit slow and sluggish and lethargic. Turret traverse is very slow, but that's a very turreted tank destroyer-y thing. The gun handling generally is pretty decent. The rate of fire is very, very good. You've got okay view range for a Tier 5 premium tank as well, and so generally on the whole it's just a pretty decent little Tier 5 tank destroyer. Now you're going to get nuked in a lot of Tier 7 games, quite frankly, and there's a lot of derp guns, and the one thing you want to avoid in the M10 RBFM is derp guns. Derp guns love you. If they hit you with a derp gun, you're going to blow up. There is no two ways about that, so do be very careful of that. So with the M10 RBFM, base statistics wise, because they're not going to change come the update, you have a 48 km/h top speed, which is okay, with a 12 km/h reverse speed, which is very, very slow reverse speed, but again, turreted or turretless tank destroyers generally are pretty slow at reversing. 13.67 horsepower per ton ratio with 410 horsepower means that you generally get to your top speed, you're just a bit slow getting there. And you have terrain resistances of 1.1 on firm, 1.3 on medium, and 2.3 on soft, which aren't the best terrain resistances in the universe, and help to make this tank feel that little bit more sluggish. You got 370 meters of view range, which I said is okay. That's good for a Tier 5 tank destroyer. A lot of vehicles at Tier 5 don't have that kind of view range, so that's actually pretty decent for the M10 RBFM. You've got 16 degrees a second on the turret traverse, by the way, which is abysmal, and it's very turreted tank destroyer in that regard, in the fact that it takes forever to turn the turret, so it might be something that you want to run rapid aim on instead to make better. You've got 130 pen on the standard AP, 170 pen on the premium APCR, and 38mm of penetration on the HE for 185 damage, and for the 130 and the 170 pen round, you've got 115 damage. So it's not the highest damage in the universe, but the rate of fire is pretty fast indeed. As base-wise, the reload is 3.1 seconds, which means it does fire very, very quickly. And even after the update, you're probably going to get more like 2.8, 2.9 second reload, maybe even less than that, I don't know. But yeah, you'll get slightly better on that, which means your DPM will be really, really pretty solid indeed. And with the 1.8 second aim time base as well. That is fantastic aim time. It means you're aiming very, very quickly, and that is definitely glorious for the M10 RBFM. And with an accuracy of a 0.37 at 100 meters, that is on the derpier end of the scale. Now, that is on the derpier end of the scale, so this gun can miss shots at times that you sit there going, oh, come on, tank. You know, hit those shots a bit better. But on the whole, it's not horrendous. But part of what makes the gun feel a bit horrendous at times is the shell velocity, as you do have 792 meters a second shell velocity on the AP and 1037 meters a second shell velocity on the premium APCR, which, yeah, the APCR velocity is slightly above average, and that will feel a hell of a lot nicer to use than the AP rounds. The AP rounds are slow, and they help to make this gun actually feel a bit derpy at times, and that can be a bit frustrating for the M10 RBFM. But with having the nice camo, you can stay unspotted quite easily in this vehicle while farming away, as you've got 321 meters of still concealment, which you'll get below 300 still after the crew and equipment change, which will still be pretty good camouflage to keep yourself unspotted. And you have 10 degrees of gun depression, which means positions that you're seeing right here are very, very good to use for the M10 RBFM, because you can use the 10 degrees of gun depression and get that gun down on target very, very easily. Now, naturally, in terms of the crew and equipment for this vehicle, that's going to change come tomorrow, so there's no real point going over that. But, like I say, even after the changes, it's still going to be pretty decent with the rate of fire, the accuracy, even the camo will still be pretty good. So this replay here on this map is... what are we on? We're on Heilbronn. There we go. Brained. And we got there in the end. And we're so far up to 2.4k damage with 985 assistance. And we've got a Tiger 1. The ass of a Tiger 1. And we only have premium ammunition left, because we are running out of ammo. It's a real problem for this vehicle. You can see me using the camo quite as effectively here. And that is making sure that I was pulling back behind the bush so that I couldn't see through the bush, which meant I got the most effective camo through that bush I could possibly get, and that kept me unspotted. And then when I got to a certain point, that Tiger 1 was quite far away. I thought, yeah, he's never going to spot me, so I just put myself in a place where I could just keep farming him and finish him off. As we're at 2.9k damage with 1011 assistance damage with 3 kills, which is a fantastic game so far for a tier 5 in a tier 7 game. And we've got ourselves behind this T25/2. So we're just keeping the shells going into this dude, because we've made him absolutely panic. Our teammates are in a position where they can try and get him if he drives around the corner. So we get another shot into the rear of him, hopefully pick up the kill, which we do, securing our 4th kill on a tank there. And it was nice to pick up a kill on the tier 7 American tank destroyer, which is 2 tiers higher than us. And we're on to the fact that there's only 2 tanks left, and that is artillery, which I assume is in the corner at K1 or is somewhere. No idea where that artillery is. And the Oni. Oh, it's an Oni. And look at my ammunition setup. We've got 3 rounds of HE left and 1 APCR round in a dream. The dream that was... the dream that was killing the Oni. So, this is where the mobility is like a little bit slow for the M10 RBFM. This is where you really feel that mobility, where you want to try and get yourself into a position to defend anything or get halfway across the map, and you start going, oh, I feel slow. But there's 2 people in the cap. 2 people on our cap, which is the artillery then. We know exactly where the RT is. We don't have to worry about that thing creeping up on us, and it's actually a Bert the Avenger. It's FE304, which is why he's in the cap, because he's a super rapid tank destroyer. But the E25 is absolutely destroying that man's hit points as he gets shut down. We load the 1 round of APCR, because I feel like if this only is hopefully turned having his side at us, we should be able to pen it. And no, he's not. He's looking at us frontally, which, yeah, we're not going to get the shot in unless... Side of the turret, yes we do. Thank you, Mr. E25, for turning that Oni. We get the 170mm of penetration through the side of the Oni's turret. Secure a damage shot, don't get the kill, but we still finish the game with 4 kills, 3.7k damage, 1011 assistance, the ace tanker, the high caliber, the Confederate medal, for 2.5, nearly 2.6k base XP. An amazing game there for the M10 RBFM in a tier 7 lobby, which is always lovely to have. It's always nice to have those games when you are bottom tier and you come out the game going, oh, that was a really good game, you know, and it's... Being bottom tier is a royal pain. When you see +2, and especially if you're in a stock tank or something, it's royal pain. But the satisfaction of having those good games when you are bottom tier and you go against, say, tier 10s in a tier 8, like you're going to see here, and you come out of the game and you go, oh, that was good. That was nice. It's nice to have that kind of game in that sort of downward spiral kind of game where you sit there going, oh my god, I've got to take on an E100 in my Demon, right? You know, that sort of thing. But we are here with the Mercenary Tier 8 heavy tank, the Demon, which has the hull of a Lerva, the turret of the M10 which is the Mutant, and the gun of the Skoda T56, but the single-shot version, and the flamethrower on the multi-weapon system of the TBP VTU. And it's a tank that I have a very love-hate relationship with. Because there's some days I play it and I go, yeah, this tank's great, I like this tank. And there's some days where I go, oh my goodness gracious me, this tank is pain. Anyone else have tanks like that? That's me and the Demon. We have some games where I just sit there going, yes, this is a good time, I'm enjoying this. And then sometimes where I play it and I go, oh god, no, this is, no, not enjoying this one bit. It's a tank that can be pretty handy for being bottom tier, because if you see a tank like the Type 5 Heavy that's in front of us right over there, and the KTTS, where I'm going to struggle to pen them, I can just flamethrower them. As long as I've got a tank meat shield, like an IS-4 here, where the IS-4 is going to be a pain for the Type 5 to do any damage to, unless he's using the Derp gun. But the IS-4 can just keep sponging hits from him, keep slamming heat in. I can just keep damage flowing into him with this flamethrower, which is one of those things, right? So, and we can, and that means we can keep the support role we need to do going. We're not just sitting there like some other tanks, like a Skoda T56, for example. It's a very strong tank. But if we're in the same situation that we're going to be here in the Demon, we're probably not going to do anything. Because we'll sit there just bouncing the 240, whatever it is, penetration rounds on our premium off of the Type 5 Heavy going, my lord, I'm just not penning this guy. Whereas I can just keep using the flamethrower to help the IS-4 as opposed to feeling helpless, right? So, with the Demon, like I say, statistics that don't change. Let's start with the penetration. The penetration is very hit and miss, and it can be a royal pain for a situation like this, as you have 208 pen on the standard AP, which is low. And, like I say, you will have to fire quite a bit of premium to make the most of penning things at times. As you have 248 penetration on the premium AP as well, which is, yeah, still a bit low and can struggle even in these tier 10 games. 68mm of HE pen, though, for 640 alpha is okay and will help you go through some of the lightly armoured vehicles. As you do have 460 damage on the standard and the premium AP. That is quite nice damage, though, and it does chonk very, very well, and you do feel like you're slapping enemy vehicles when you get these shells in, especially when you're top tier. You've got a 13.7 second reload for that gun as well, which is a bit slow, and it does take a wee while to get the damage in, but naturally got 460 alpha. 3 second aim time is long. Again, it takes a wee while to get this gun aimed in and can be a bit of pain. 0.42 accuracy at 100 meters is derpy. It's a derpy gun, and it does feel it at times as well, and especially after the update, it will definitely feel it. You've got 8 degrees of gun depression, which is very, very flexible for this vehicle. It means you are pretty good on a ridgeline, and as you're seeing in this replay, it means we can pull back behind the ridgeline, expose only our turret, and then just keep flamethrowing, which is what we've been doing. Oh, Mr. CS59, what are we doing, sir? Is this a good idea? I'm not quite sure. We put a shot into his side, flamethrowers away, and he's gone. As he did get tracked in the open, but there you go. But 0.42 accuracy is derpy, and you will feel that. 8 degrees of gun depression is nice for the ridgelines. 380 meters of view range is good as well. It's very, very average tier 8 view range, meaning you can spot for yourself pretty well if you spec out for it. You've got an 11.59 horsepower per ton ratio, which is not great, and a 35 km/h top speed with a 15 km/h reverse speed. So very average top speed and reverse speed for a heavy tank. The power to weight is slow, and with a 1.15 on firm, a 1.45 on medium, and a 2.3 on soft in terms of terrain resistances, they do make the tank feel a bit sluggish, and this tank does feel very sluggish in its mobility. In terms of the armour for this vehicle, the armour, again, is one of those things is why I love-hate it, because it's very hit and miss. Because sometimes it works really well, and sometimes it gets absolutely papier'd, and you sit there going, why? Why am I made of papier? Why am I made of the papers? What is this? You know? And it's a bit frustrating. But then Death Stars can come over, and we tracked him, but he's repaired it. Hello, Mr. Death Star, how is this going? Yeah, he did. If you're wondering what happened there, he did. He bounced his AP round off of my upper plate. And that's what I'm talking about with the Demon, where the armor sometimes just goes, yeah, you know what? 183mm of pain? I'll bounce that. But that 75mm Sherman gun, I'll get penned every time. You sit there going, come on, Demon, what is this? It's kind of like that in the Lerva as well, but yeah, you get the point. It can be a bit frustrating for that, indeed, the Demon, but hey-ho. So yeah, this game here on Overlord, we are up to 4.9k damage, 827 assistance damage. We've had a very nice game here in a bottom tier matchup. And again, with the flamethrower, we've had that utility to just keep being the support vehicle. So the IS-4 was doing a great job of holding that corner, keeping the Type 5 busy. He wasn't managing to do much to him. And then while he was doing that, we were just keeping the flamethrower constantly going as much as possible on that Type 5 Heavy, which kept our damage constantly ticking up, but also kept panicking the Type 5 a little bit, as naturally when you're on fire and it's got all the little bells and whistles going off that's happening, it can make people panic a bit more, make wrong decisions, that sort of thing, and just muck up. But we've managed to get to the last tank alive, which is Mr. Ho-Ri 2. We got a shot into his side as the 4005 overkill finishes him off, and we finished the game with a really nice total there, with no kills, but a really nice total for the Demon in a bottom tier matchup with the 5.3k damage, 827 assistance damage, the Ace Tanker, Confederate, the high caliber, with that 2062 base XP. A nice game there for the Demon in a bottom tier matchup. And like I say, it's always nice to have that kind of game where you feel like you really did have a great impact for that bottom tier kind of event. And we're on to the third replay. And this third replay, we're now with the Japanese tier 8 premium medium tank, the Kame. Now, complete opposite to the Demon. The Demon is one of those where some days I feel great with it. Some days I sit there loathing it, going, what are you doing, Demon? Please be better, you know? Now, I play the Kame. I like the Kame. Now, the one thing that it is very susceptible to is artillery. Artillery loves this thing. If an arty shell hits the side of it, or the engine deck, which is large, you are going to be penned by that artillery. And that can be frustrating, naturally. That's always frustrating, right? But the one thing I have very much enjoyed about this vehicle is, even though it's got very average mobility, it's not really got much stand out about it. But it's just been fun. Maybe I just clicked with it. I don't know. The gun handling's pretty good. The alpha's nice. The DPM's decent. Not great, but decent. The armor on it is enough to give you occasional bounces, but you don't truly want to rely on it. Gun depression's nice. View range is pretty good. The camo's fairly average. It's just, I say, there's not really anything special about the Kame. But I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I've just thoroughly enjoyed playing the vehicle. And got on with it so well. So well indeed. So yeah, the Kame does have a 50km/h top speed, a 20km/h reverse speed, with 18.57 horsepower per ton ratio. Which means, yeah, it flies to that top speed, and with the terrain resistances being 0.8 on firm, 0.9 on medium, and 1.8 on soft, which they are very good ground resistances, and that base 18.57 horsepower per ton ratio means you fly up to the top speed of 50 very easily. Your reverse speed is great. The mobility on this vehicle generally is lovely. It's just you've got very average medium tank mobility with that 50km/h top speed. You've got 400 meters of view range, which is very good for a tier 8 medium tank, because the average, like we've said previously for the Demon, the average for most tanks in tier 8 is 380. So 400 meters of view range is very good for the Kame. It really is. You've got 46 degrees a second on the traverse speed of the turret, which means that the turret does turn pretty quickly to the left and right, which is lovely. The track traverse is 40 degrees, so you are faster in turning the turret than you are the tracks, which is definitely good as well. But that just generally helps the mobility feeling and the general feeling of the vehicle while using the mobility. It doesn't feel lethargic, and that is very nice for the Kame. You've got 215 penetration on the standard AP rounds. You've got 270 pen on the premium heat rounds, and 53 penetration on the HE. Now, the HE does 420 damage, the AP in the heat does 320 damage, and the AP rounds are good enough to go through most things you're going to face, but where you start to struggle against the tier 9s and 10s that are heavily armoured, you just load the 270 heat pen, and the 270 heat pen is great. That goes through most vehicles as well, which is lovely, except for maybe a Type 5 or a mouse. You've got 1,000 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, which is bang on average, which means you have to give a good amount of lead at distance to be able to hit your shots. And the heat rounds have 880 meters a second shell velocity, meaning they are below average, and you will feel the difference between the premium and the standard rounds when you do fire them. 9.3 second reload, like I say, is very, very average in terms of the DPM. And the accuracy is 0.36, which is getting onto the derpier end of the scale. Because once you're going above 0.35 accuracy, that's where you're starting to notice the guns start missing a little bit more. But it's still pretty good in the way it performs. We'll have to see naturally after the update how that goes. But yeah, you know, generally the gun has felt pretty good. You got a 2-second aim time, which means it does aim in very, very quickly, which is one of the things that does feel great about this vehicle, is just how fast this gun does get aimed in, as the bloom isn't that bad. I mean, this is without the gun stabilizer, but naturally, you're probably going to run the gun stabilizer, actually, after the update, but yeah, I digress, because you'll be able to run it in the 4th slot. But I digress again. We've got 10 degrees of gun depression on this vehicle, which is very, very good indeed. Means you are very flexible on ridgeline and is definitely lovely for the Kame, which means that, yeah, you can just use the gun depression, use that 200mm of armor on the turret front to accentuate the angles by using the gun depression, and then it makes it a bit more difficult for people to be able to pen you through the turret. Now, again, the turret armor is very, very flat, which means that it will give you a bit of give, and that's the nice thing. It's not a CDC that's pure paper. It will give you a bit of give, but generally, it will start getting penned by, especially the tier 9s and 10s. You do have to be very, very careful in your Kame about that. So, here in this game, on Campbellberg, we have found the prime camping nest, and we've angered the bees. We've angered the Wotconsole 100, Mr. Waffle. He was like, hello, sir. You have shot me. I don't take kindly to this. But we managed to back off in time. We see the Kame Jagdpanzer III GST term. Can't quite get the gun depression to get the shot down on him, but actually we're going to try and go over. But the Gorilla 15 is also looking at us. So we think better of that. The 3 GST term looks like he's trying to come over to get a shot into us. So we're just waiting for him to overexpose. But we do the bad thing, and that is we overexpose. Oh my lord, Mr. Waffle's coming. Thankfully, he misses. We get a shot into him. We pull all the way back, because that should hopefully mean that these guys start pulling over, exposing themselves to the TDs behind us. I start to think, okay, you know what? I want to run away. I might want to run away and run around the back end of these vehicles along to B9, A9. But I think, no, actually, these guys have calmed down because they've realised they're starting to get shot. Let's just stay here and support this Skoda. So we tried to put a heat round through the turret front of the Jagdpanzer III GST turn, but it didn't quite work out. He does YOLO after us, and that was clearly a round from a Ruthless or a 4005 and something like that, and he lost a lot of hit points, which is what we were expecting. I thought if someone's going to come after us and try and shoot us, they're going to hurt. So we get a shot into the ISU-130, who has fired. We're going to try and get another one into him, which we do as well. The Waffle E100's coming over, which is a bad idea for him as he gets shut down by the Death Star. But now that the Death Star's killed that guy, the ISU-130 also comes over, finishing us off. We shouldn't have gone for that shot, really. We should have just kept pulling back, but hey-ho. We still finished with the victory. 2 kills, 5.5k damage, 1,652 assistance. The ace tanker with the 2.1, nearly 2.2k basic XP. A really good game again for the Kame there in a tier 10 lobby. But now we're on to one of the specialty tier 8 replays, and that is we're in the T41E1, which is the 10-shot auto-loading bulldog. And this is actually a game from my free-to-play account in the T41E1. And you might be going, but the 10-shot auto-loading bulldog, the premium T41E1 is premium. How do you have it on a free-to-play account? Well, this was one of the free XP vehicles. This was one of the tanks that you could get for free XP. I think it was 140k free XP? 130k free XP? Something like that. And when we had the Banners of Valor event and we were getting free chests for just playing, and that could drop us some free XP, as well as the fact that I don't spend free XP on the free-to-play account whatsoever. I don't use it. I hold on to it so that I can get my free premium tanks, which is what we did. We managed to get about 90,000 to 100,000 free XP, and then they put this sale on. The Banners of Valor chests were there, and we ended up getting lucky and got a bit of free XP out of those chests as well for free, from just grinding them for free in one of the little ops that they had. And so, yeah, we ended up picking up the T41E1 for free. So we got a tier 8 auto-loading bulldog for premium tank for free on our free-to-play account, which is going to help us with some silver and stuff like that. And also, it's just an enjoyable vehicle. You can't turn that down because the 10-shot auto-loading bulldog is pretty deadly. When you catch things out with this 10-shot clip, oh yeah, you can rack up damage very, very quickly. But the thing is, with that, is that I didn't have a crew. I didn't have a crew for an American vehicle. So the crew that we put in it is a completely fresh crew that only has 6th Sense. That's all we've got on this crew. That's it, completely. So basically what you're going to see is this vehicle with probably the accuracy it's going to have after the update, and also the reload it's going to have after the update as well. Because it's what it's going to feel like. So we're missing some of the key perks that's going to be removed, like rapid reload and steady aim. Sorry, not 6th Sense, because 6th Sense is going to be baked in after the update. But there we go. So with the T41E1, we have a top speed that is very, very nice indeed, as we've got 70 kilometers an hour top speed with a 25 kilometer an hour reverse speed, 35 horsepower per ton ratio. Means you fly to the top speed, and it is a very, very mobile bulldog indeed. But the thing is you've got to be careful of is the fact that you are a big fat tank, and it's very, very easy to hit you because you are such a large vehicle, which means that, yeah, you do have to be careful even if you're zipping about at 70, as you still will catch shots. Probably a little bit less shots after the update because tanks won't be quite as accurate, but you're still going to catch shots. You've got 410 meters of view range, which is absolutely amazing for a tier 8 tank. Means this tank can spot for itself incredibly well, which is glorious for a tier 8 light tank. Naturally, as you are a scout, it's good to be able to spot for yourself, get some assistance damage. You've got a great traverse speed at 54 degrees a second on the tracks, 50 degrees a second on the turret, which means the turret and tracks turn very, very quickly. Sorry, Mr. STG, by the way, my driving just absolutely sucks. We're just putting that out there. We've got 175 penetration on the standard APDS rounds, 210 penetration on the premium heat rounds, 38mm of penetration on the HE. So you never really take the HE ever because it takes a while to get this clip loaded in. So naturally, because it's low penetration, there's just not real much use for it. Your APDS rounds at 175 are quite low, and especially in tier 10 lobbies, it's a real struggle to be able to get damage out with those at times, unless you've got the rear of vehicles. But even then, there's quite a few tanks you can't even pen in the rear, and I'm talking about you super heavies. 210 pen on the heat rounds is still low, and again, it struggles to go through quite a few vehicles as well. The penetration is one of those pain points a bit for the bulldogs, like the T41E1. You've got 1,219 meters a second shell velocity on the standard APDS rounds, which is very, very good. It's great velocity, meaning you don't have to give too much lead at distance to be able to hit your targets. But 975 meters a second shell velocity on the heat and HE, you do have to give a wee bit more lead at distance to be able to hit the tanks, when they're moving especially, and you will feel a big difference between firing the APDS rounds and the other two rounds. You got 28.5 second reload base on this clip, so it does take a wee while to get it loaded up, and naturally after the update it's going to not get as much help as it did pre-update, because it's probably still going to be in the 27 second rate region, which, yeah, it does mean it takes a wee while to get the clip loaded in, but that's naturally a balancing feature for the kind of burst you've got. You've got 1.8 second aim time, which means you do aim in very, very fast, which is glorious for this vehicle, and it aims in faster than the intra-clip reload, which is also lovely. It means you're always ready to fire when you get the shell loaded in, as you do have a 2-second intra-clip reload, so it takes a wee while to get the shots out, as you do have 10 shots, but you've got a 1700 clip. And that means you can clip out quite a lot of tier 8 vehicles. You can clip out a lot of tier 7 and tier 6s as well. The clip potential of this vehicle is filthy, and when you do catch vehicles out with the autoloader, yeah, you just trash them, and it's a lovely thing. It's always why the autoloading bulldog, the 10-shot bulldog, back in the day was so loved, because it could be pain, especially when you got in those tier 10 lobbies. Because naturally, as the bulldog was a 10-shot autoloader back in the day, it was a tier 7 light tank, but it could still see tier 10s because light tanks could see +3. So it still gets the same matchmaking, this vehicle, as the old bulldog. But yeah, it could be pain, but when the satisfaction came round, when you actually managed to make it work and you got those 10 shots off into a vehicle and you just watched your damage tick up, oh yeah, it was great. So here on this game here on Malinovka, Mr. Brask was quite clearly going, I want this bulldog. And so we lead him straight into our team, and thankfully the Dragon finishes him off. We're at 2.9k damage with 1259 assistance damage. It's currently 8.5, so we're just working out where we want to go next. We know there's a medium tank in their cap. We know the IS Desmond 2-2's towards our cap. They've got a medium tank that's on the hill and a light tank that is somewhere we don't know. I'm assuming the artillery is back in their spawn at A1. So we need to work out where we want to get someone isolated and where we want to put some shots in. So you can see me there going, okay, where do I want to go? Because I don't really want to go after the Desmond Tutu too quickly, because if I get caught out, he'll naturally just kill me, because he can kill me in one shot. So we have to be very, very careful. And also, if we go after him and expose ourselves a little bit too much, naturally we're going to get shot from the hill as well. And just the consideration we've got to take in hand here is the fact that if we just went round the rock at E0 to get shots and spot the IS Desmond 22 along the 0 line, we're going to get shot from the hill, and we'll probably die from the hill. So instead, what we're going to do is use our brain and go use the bushes along the back K line, try and spot the IS Desmond 22 along that K line, up the 0 line, and then get shots into him that way. The Lycan's been spotted in the middle at E5, and I really should have turned around and had a look at him at this point, but I'm too preoccupied with actually going after Mr. Desmond Tutu. And he is down in that dip, which makes this awkward. So you can see I'm looking at the terrain elevation going, if I go up here, can I get shots down onto the IS Desmond Tutu? I can. Okay, well, we see the lower plate of the Desmond Tutu. 175 pen is not going through that. But you just saw me look and change the angle, and that is we went through the turret roof. Because of the way he was pointing down, we actually had shots at his turret roof, and that shot went straight through. And then because he was getting shot and penned, he moved, angling his lower plate upwards, which meant that we could actually pen it with 175. And that's where even against a tier 8 heavy tank, that's where the 175 pen could still be a bit awkward. We're at 3,084 damage with 1259 assistance damage, and we're now going to go and try and find the rest of their team that's left. Now, again, we know the Earthshaker's on the hill. We know the light tank was down in the dip at, well, he was on the lake, the frozen lake at E6 when last time we got spotted. But as we came this way, we ended up finding the Earthshaker, and you can see I'm using as much distance as possible, over 500 meters away now. But just as we went for that 500 meters, he got unspotted. Very, very typical. But I went into a place where he was never spotting me, so I could get some free shots into him without ever getting spotted. Because naturally, again, there's freedom. That Earthshaker, if they catch a shot into me, I'm going to die. And I don't want to die. It's just not what we want right now. So we're just trying to pick out the shots into this freedom, trying to again support while he is lit up. We did get the tracking shot in, and the Sturm Tiger P ends up finishing off the freedom. 3.5k damage now with the 1500 assistance, and we know where the Earthshaker is, so we're going to go and spot this Earthshaker in the hope that, again, one of my teammates manages to pick him off. The Lycan ends up shutting down the AMBT, which is kind of awkward. We've found the Earthshaker now, so hello, Mr. Earthshaker, and we're just going to run away again. We're going to keep him at the extent of our view range. Keep him at the extent of the view range, so he is not going to light us up. And now we're loaded, we can go and try and find him again, use the bush cover, and fire through the bushes, hopefully pick off this Earthshaker without actually getting killed ourselves. So again, he's about 400 meters away. I figure, okay, if I fire at this guy, he's not spotting me. But he gets himself safe into the rock at E0, which is awkward because we're not going to be able to get shots into him from there unless we're over towards E2, E3. The Lycan gets spotted up on the frozen lake still, though, so we get ourselves into a better position to get some shots into Mr. Lycan. But it's just bad timing. Just as we get into a position to be able to shoot him, the Lycan gets unspotted. Quite very typical, but yeah, there we go. That's just Sod's Law for you, right? That's just Sod's Law. So the medium tank is pressuring the Earthshaker, so we wait to see if the Earthshaker is going to back up into a position where we can shoot him, which he does. I was about to say we secured the kill on him there, but again, it's one of those where we hit him with a shell just as he died. Literally, the millisecond he died. So we got the little UI response that we got the kill there with a little X, but we didn't get the kill. Sad times. But we know where the Lycan was just about. Again, he was in the middle. We know where the artillery is. I know I can take a hit from that Lycan. Can't take two, but I can take a hit. So we can risk a shot because, again, we knew how much HP he had. He's a two-shot for me. So if I get the first shot off and hit him, the likelihood is I'm going to kill him before he can kill me. So we just need to find the Lycan, get the drop on him, and it'll be fine. But there's the Lycan there going up on top of the hill. So if the Lycan's going to go up on the hill towards the medium tank, I figure, okay, the medium tank is the STG. The STG can one-shot that guy. Let's just not. I go for the full reload because I wanted the full 10-shot clip in. As you can see, we have 10 shots of APDS left, so we may as well get the full clip in, and that meant I can clip out the artillery, which got spotted up towards the hill. which I didn't expect. I thought he'd be down in the dip at A1, but there we go. So we get one shot in. We're going to try and track him. We're aiming for the back end of this equalizer so we can track and pen him, but it's not quite working out. There we go. We finally track him, put him down to a one-shot, and naturally, just as we get him down to a one-shot, he gets himself safe behind some rocks, and so we can't finish him off. Very typical, very bad timing. Sod's law. That's been this game in general. We've had a very, very nice game for a tank with no crew in it. Especially, or should I say a crew that's only got 6th Sense. But there's been a lot of bad timing in this game. A lot of bad timing where we sit there going, oh, just as we reloaded, they've disappeared, or just as we've got into a position to shoot them, they're safe behind rocks, right? But we finished the game with 3 kills, 5.1k damage, 1,557 assistance, ace tank of the Pascuches, the Confederate medal, with the 2003 base XP, and we still made a good amount of silver, even though we had no premium account as well. Really nice game there, full T41E1, with no crew. Well, effectively no crew, because we had 6 Sense, but anyway, I digress. This time, we're now in the Soviet Tier 8 tank destroyer, the ISU-130. And this time, no, when I kept saying I've not got any crew in the 10-shot auto-loading bulldog. Really, I did, because I had a 1-skill crew. It had 6 Sense, that was it. Well, the ISU-130 here is a tank that I've taken out by accident, without a crew. Now, we've all done it, and it's one of the frustrating reasons why we've always asked for a HUD element to be, if I press A on a tank to play it, and I don't have a crew in it, I want it to tell me, I don't have a crew, are you sure you want to play? Because accidents happen, and I accidentally pressed the button to go into battle, because I nearly dropped my controller. And by doing that, it insta-queued me. So the instant it went into the battle queue, there was no backing out. It was straight into a game, which we've all had happen. It's super annoying. So we've got no crew in our ISU-130. And we're going to have a pretty good game in this tank anyway. So the ISU-130 is one of those gimmicky tanks from antiquity. Yeah, from Rome. Yeah, absolutely from Rome. Yeah, no, not at all. So this is one of those tanks that does have a bit of a gimmick, and that is the fact that the premium AP rounds that this vehicle gets have lower penetration than the standard round. So kind of like Hesh, but it's AP. And it's very similar to the box tank, the SU-100Y in that regard. It's got that 130mm gun, where you've got 212 penetration on this premium AP round, but you have 570 damage, with a very good reload, by the way, which means it hits pretty hard for a great reload. But 212 pen can be a bit of pain, especially when you end up in a Tier 9 or Tier 10 game. But that's the same as some tanks' standard penetration, honestly. And this is where I realised I hadn't got a crew, by the way. But there we go. We've got 238 penetration on the standard AP, though. And the standard AP rounds have 490 alpha, which is fairly standard for a 130mm gun. So those 238 penetration AP rounds are very, very nice, and they go through most tanks. But especially in a bottom tier matchup against some of the heavily armoured Tier 10s, that's where it can be a struggle for the ISU. It can be a struggle for the ISU-130 in that regard, which, yeah, can be definitely a bit of pain for a tank destroyer. When you get those matchups where the armor isn't so good, and you can use these 212 penetration AP, premium AP rounds, oh, the damage rolls, and it rolls so quickly. The DPM is great when you are able to use them. And the other thing is, this tank has good gun depression for a Soviet tank destroyer like this. It has very mediocre mobility. It's got good concealment. The reload's very good. The accuracy on the gun's actually pretty good as well. Aim time is also really good. So generally, as a tank, it is a really solid tank destroyer, with the only downside, the only true downside, being that the standard AP, sorry, the premium AP rounds mean that you will really struggle in a Tier 10 game. So this tank has a 38km/h top speed, a 14km/h reverse speed, 600 horsepower engine, which is 12.77 horsepower per ton ratio, which means that, again, very mediocre mobility. Very mediocre mobility indeed, which means it doesn't get places very, very quickly. But you do have 324 meters of still concealment, which I imagine you'll still get down into the low 280s or even 270 odd after the update, somewhere in that area, because it's going to get impacted by the crew skills. It's not going to be anywhere near the level of camo it's got now, which is ridiculously good, but it's still going to be in a decent level where you can use the camo really effectively, especially if you're using bush cover. You've got 380 meters of view range, which means you can spot, it's again very mediocre tier 8, or sorry, not mediocre, it's very average. It's very average tier 8 view range, meaning, again, very good for a tank destroyer. It means it can spot for itself pretty well. As you got the good camo. Your reload is base 10 seconds, which means that you'll have pretty good DPM when you use the premium AP, and you'll still be able to knock that down a bit with a gun rammer and stuff like that after the update, so you'll still get a pretty good reload out of it. You've also got a 2-second aim time, which is very, very fast, and again will mean that you can aim in pretty quickly with this gun when you do get it turned. 8 degrees of gun depression is very, very flexible for this vehicle on a ridgeline, which is very un-Soviet-like of it, which is definitely very good for the ISU-130. 0.35 accuracy at 100 meters is also, it's getting onto the dirt, like I say, it's the middle, it's getting onto the derpier end of the scale. But again, for this kind of gun, it's still pretty good, and will still get a little bit better when you're running Born Leader and stuff like that, so you still get a little bit better with that, but it's pretty good accuracy for a tank, realistically, the ISU-130. And again, for this 130mm kind of gun, it's pretty good accuracy. It's one of those that you're going, okay then, sure, we'll take it. You've got 960 meters a second shell velocity on the standard AP, 900 meters a second shell velocity on the premium AP, and 702 meters a second shell velocity on the HE, which has 65 penetration, by the way, for 640 alpha, so the HE can be pretty nice when you load it against very lightly armoured vehicles. But yeah, the velocity is below average, and you do have to give quite a bit of lead at distance to be able to hit your targets, and the velocity can be a bit slow, and when you're firing at targets that are moving fast at distance, that's where the gun can feel a bit iffy sometimes, but naturally it's going to be like that. So in this game here on El Alamein, we're up to 4.3k damage with 55 assistance damage, and again you're seeing a bit of the struggle, and this is something that, well, we're not going to have this problem, are we? Well, are we? No, we are going to have this problem. No, we're still going to have this problem after the crew and equipment update that happens tomorrow. And that is, we don't have any sixth sense, so we have absolutely no idea when we're going to get spotted, or whether we're spotted, when we're spotted. Who knows? It's a pure guess. So we have to play really, really safe. Now, naturally, yeah, you're not going to have sixth sense if you don't put a crew in anyway. But if you get a crew in and you're training it up, it's going to be baked in, so you're always going to have sixth sense. But yeah, if you go out without a crew, you're going to be suffering this experience that I'm having now. I have to be extremely careful because I have no idea where I'm getting spotted. I'm on 576 hit points. I don't really want to get spotted, as naturally I might just blow up to the artillery or the TDs that are left. So we're manoeuvring ourselves a little bit more careful around the ridge lines and just trying to get under the little ledge at J78, because from there I should hopefully be able to sneak up on the guys at K56. But as I'm going that way, we find a Jagdpanther, which I just didn't expect. I did not expect the tank destroyer to still be at J0. I did not expect the tank to still be camping there, but thankfully he hit me. He couldn't kill me in one shot. I could kill him in one shot, and we shot that guy down while we fired at him on the move. We also find the medium tank and the tank destroyer, who quite fortunately fired at us and missed, which meant that they got a few hits into them as well. Artillery's trying to get them. But since we know that they're both spotted and they've dropped back behind that ridge, instead what I'm now going to do is just drive out in the open, try and get across this gap before they decide to poke, and get under their gun line so that I can try and get the gun depression with this vehicle with the 8 degrees down onto them and then finish them off. As there is still 3 tanks left, we know where 2 of them are, make that 1 of them. We know exactly where 1 of them left is, up in this corner. But we can only imagine that the other one is still over here as well. But in fact, he's not. It's a Mr. Barask, and Mr. Barask is over there. The Type 59 is still here with the heavy tank going after him, but I can get shots into the Barask from this position. So I decided, okay, I'm not going to go after this Type 59. I'm going to wait in ambush to get the Barask out. Because I feel... That's a terrible shot, my lord. Because I feel like the heavy tank was going to be able to deal with the very low health Type 59 very easily. So we get a shot straight through the turret there of the Brask. We should have hit him first time and used our final premium AP round quite easily, but hey-ho, that was a really terrible shot from it. I just face-palmed at how bad that shot was. That was a bit of bad luck. The Type 59 drives round. I know I can take a hit from the Type 59, by the way, because he's got 250 alpha. I've got 290 hit points, unless I get extremely lucky. Or, hey, I get extremely unlucky? Extremely lucky? No, I would have to get extremely unlucky, and he would have to get extremely lucky for him to be able to kill me. Thankfully, though, he misses his second shot where he could have killed me, but I derp the shot into the floor and miss him. He fires again, though, gets finished off by a T44, and that was just a whole event of terribleness there, as we could have killed the Type 59. The Type 59 could have also killed us, and just, we fluffed it out left, right, and centre. We finished the game with 3 kills, 5.6k damage, 596 assistance, the first class, the high caliber, for 2,022 base XP, which is not an ace tanker for the ISU-130, which is not that surprising, because not many people actually play the vehicle that much, and also it's a very, very good tank, so the people that do play it get the most out of it, so the base XP requirement for an ace tanker is quite high. Normally would be an ace, and that was a very good game for the ISU-130 without the crew. But yeah, that's the video. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.
A great success!